All right, let's get right into it. We all love to talk about the American dream, right? This idea that anyone can make it big. But today, we're going to flip that coin over and look at the dark side. How some of the biggest success stories out there were never real to begin with. They were just masterfully built illusions.
You know, it always starts with this grand, sweeping promise, doesn't it? A story that hooks right into our biggest hopes. And that story so often begins with just two little words. In America. The land of dreams, a place where anything feels possible, where you can build a whole empire from a single great idea. Now, this is the powerful idea that fuels so much ambition, but as we're about to see, it also makes us incredibly vulnerable. And here's the catch. That belief, that hope that something incredible is possible, that can be turned into a weapon. Because not every amazing story you hear, no matter how much you want to believe it, is actually true.
Some of them are just monumental frauds. Empires built on nothing but smoke and mirrors, designed to fool millions of people, top investors, and sometimes even the entire system. And that's exactly what we're going to break down.
So, let's kick things off with a name that pretty much became the definition of financial disaster. A guy who wasn't just some investor. He was, for all intents and purposes, an institution. I mean, his influence was just immense. He wasn't just some guy on Wall Street. He was a former chairman of the NASDAQ. He had this aura of being completely untouchable, totally credible. If you were going to invest with anyone, he felt like the safest bet on planet Earth. But of course, behind the curtain, he was running the biggest Ponzi scheme in history. And the crazy thing is how simple it was. He wasn't making genius trades, nope. He was just taking cash from new investors to pay off the old ones. It created this perfect illusion of steady, incredible returns that just couldn't be real.
So when that house of cards finally came crashing down in 2008, $60 billion had just vanished from people's accounts. And you have to understand that number represents entire life savings. It represents charities that were wiped out, family fortunes that took generations to build. Just gone. It wasn't just a financial crisis, it was a crisis of trust that we still feel today.
Madoff's whole scam was built on his personal reputation. But what happens when that same kind of lie isn't just one person, but an entire corporation? Well, let's talk about a company that, for a while there, looked like the future of everything. Enron was an absolute behemoth. Seriously, Fortune magazine called it America's most innovative company 6 years in a row. From the outside, it was the perfect picture of corporate success. They were powerful, they were innovative, and they seemed to be making just tons of money. But it was all a mirage, a complete fantasy. The way they did it was by using these, well, basically shell companies to hide billions and billions of dollars in debt. This made the company look incredibly profitable, when in reality, it was completely rotting from the inside. They cooked the books so well they fooled everybody. Regulators, banks, the public, you name it. And just like Madoff, when it fell hard and fast. One day, Enron is this titan of industry. Literally the next, it's bankrupt. Thousands of employees didn't just lose their jobs, they lost their life savings, which were all tied up in company stock that was now completely worthless. So we've gone from Wall Street to the big corporate towers, and now our last case takes us to Silicon Valley. This is where the promise of changing the world can create this powerful and sometimes really dangerous reality distortion field. Now this was the pitch from Elizabeth Holmes and her startup Theranos, a game changer, an idea that could revolutionize healthcare as we know it. It sounded simple, brilliant, and it pulled in billions in investments from some of the most famous and powerful people in the world. And this, right here, this is the whole story. Despite all the hype, all the magazine covers, the billions of dollars, the core piece of tech, the little box that was supposed to change everything, it was a total fraud. It never, ever worked. So you have a Wall Street icon, a gigantic corporation, and a visionary startup founder. They seem like totally different stories, right? But if you look closer, a pattern starts to emerge. It's almost like a blueprint for how to pull off a massive deception. Just think about it. Step 1, you've always got the charismatic figure. Madoff, the trusted genius. Enron's brilliant executives. Holmes, the next Steve Jobs. Then, step 2 comes the unbelievable promise. Returns that are too good to be true. Endless corporate growth. A healthcare revolution. Step 3 is the secret, the hidden lie, the Ponzi scheme, the cooked books, the fake technology. And that all leads, inevitably, to step 4, the devastating collapse, when the lie gets too big to hide.
And that collapse brings us to it's really the most important part of this whole thing. It's easy to get fascinated by the billions of dollars and the clever schemes, but the true impact of these illusions, it's all about people.
Yes, the financial losses were just staggering. But those numbers, what they really stood for was the theft of something you just can't put a price on.
They wiped out the dream of a safe retirement, the dream of building a great career, the dream of making the world a healthier place. They took people's deepest hopes and just systematically took them apart. And that's the real tragedy here. For the people who lost everything, it wasn't a slow burn. It was a sudden, brutal shock. One minute your future seems totally secure, built on the promise of these incredible empires. The next, poof, it's all just gone. So at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway from all these empires of illusion? Well, maybe it's just that in a world that loves a big, exciting promise, maybe the most valuable thing we can have is just a little bit of healthy skepticism. And it really leaves you with a big question. What is it inside all of us that wants to believe in these fantasies so badly? And how do we get better at spotting the next big one before it's too late?